So a little bit of background about me is I've gotten to know Kevin on multiple levels for sure. So I have served at my local association as a board of director, and I currently serve as board of director right now. And I have served in YPN at my local level, at my state level, and at the national level. So I've had the privilege of getting to know Kevin on multiple levels for sure. And I've known him for a while. So I've been licensed for 9 years. A little bit of back history for me is I'm originally from Philadelphia. I moved to Lake County because my husband is grew up here, and we moved back from Pennsylvania, New Jersey area, and we moved back here. And so when I got into this business of being a realtor, I literally did not know anybody in the community that I served beside my husband and my mother-in-law at that point in time. So what I usually did is I deep dived into statistics and using statistics in my business to grow my business. So, a little bit of street cred for me, you guys, is I have served as chair for Florida Realtors um, Research and Advisory Committee, which is hosted by Brad O'Connor. Um, and so we actually got to build some stats for you guys as realtors and a benefit of being a member of Florida Realtors. So basically, I'm going to kind of go over a lot of things that are free for you guys to use and some stuff that I use in my business on a constant and weekly basis. And then a little bit also about me is in 2023 with Florida Realtors, I got Article of the Year. And my article was about using statistics in your business. And so basically, I told people I was shocked that I got it for sure, but I was really grateful I did because a lot of people use that article and reference that article constantly because it was kind of like tips and tricks to use in your business. So I know that's available online. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my presentation, you guys. I'm a person, if you've got questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Or if you want to throw them in the chat, I'm really easygoing and this is going to be fine. This is not like, hey, this is like, blah, 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 blah. I'm easygoing. Kevin knows I'm easygoing. And so I want to make this fun. And if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And I'm going to kind of, I've got my presentation on the screen right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up different websites that you guys can use and are beneficial to you guys as members and kind of walk you through what you can do with them. And then we're going to go from there. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide here. So who am I? So basically I went over that, you guys. So I'm right outside of Orlando, Florida. I'm in Mount Dora. I've been a top producer at my brokerage that I work for the past 7 years. I've been the #1 producer. I usually sell about 35 to 50 transactions per year. I am a sole person. I do not have a team. I do not have a transaction coordinator. It is me, myself, and I tell people all the time. So I'm constantly getting listings, and then I'm also working with buyers. My numbers are usually about dead even every single year with the same amount of listings and the same amount of buyers for transactions. So I'm pretty dead even, and I use statistics in the buyer side and the listing side too. I always tell people, where's the housing market right now? Everybody is in a different part of the region when they come to Florida. I'm still dealing with sellers and buyers right now that are coming from different states and different locations. And some of them are still getting in multiple offer situations. I really wish we were still in multiple offer areas in my area, but we are totally not. And I wish we were right now. I don't know how you guys are doing in Miami right now. I don't know if you guys are still getting multiple offers, but where I am at, we are not. Unless we are undervalued by about 10% of what the market dictates for the price right now. And if we are under 10% of that value, we are getting multiple offers, but it's undervaluing for the market right now too. So, Kevin, are you guys in multiple offers still down there, or are people seeing multiple offers,
It
or is
depends
that
on
bye
the
bye?
area, and it really depends on thing. But let's make no mistake that days on market certainly higher than they were a few years ago, no
Yes,
doubt.
exactly. So I was on the phone with a seller this morning from Maryland, and she was talking about buying a townhome over there. And she was like telling me we're still in multiple offers in Maryland, and I had to go about 30 grand over the list price. And I'm like, I wish we were back there for sure. I really wish we were, but we're not. I'm so sorry. And I always tell people right now, you have to have those hard conversations up front with sellers right now. And we're going to go into where I'm getting my statistics at. I always tell people when something's free or something's easy, accessible, why reinvent the wheel? Like if you want to use this for your presentations, I'm going to go, hey, this is where to get this from. So this is where we're going to go kind of break down into. So what are stats helpful for? They're going to tell us where we're currently in the market. It helps with the area that you're marketing. So I'm going to show you guys some tips and tricks today of how you can use stats to get new listings. And then it gives you an idea of price ranges people are looking at. It helps determine prices when listing a home. And it's having conversations with buyers about making offers on homes. I usually use statistics. I usually use it when I'm making offers with buyers right now and going, hey, do you think we should offer this? Or hey, do you think we all should offer that? I'm using comparables and stats to pull that up too. So where can stats be found at, you guys? So we have resources at the National Association of Realtors. We've got the state level, which is Florida Realtors. I know your local association produces statistics. I know you guys do have that. And I know you guys have MLS too in your own right. I'm a member of Stellar, and I know Miami has their own MLS. So I'm going to give you guys more tips about the national level and the state level today. So there's two economists that I always refer to. So we have Dr. Lawrence Yun. He is the chief economist for NAR at the national level. If you have not heard him talk, you are missing out tremendously. We just all got back from our NAR legislative meetings, and he was going about how the interest rates are going to still be the same. I wish they were going to be lowered, but we're not there yet. And he was going that basically we're going to probably be like this for the next couple of 6 months, is what he was kind of predicting. So do not expect those interest rates to go anywhere. And he kind of gives us a breakdown all the time of where we are at the national level. And then if you have never heard Dr. Brad O'Connor speak, he is a chief economist for Florida Realtors. If you have never heard him speak, you are missing out too. He does a great presentation at our January midwinter meetings, and then he does a great presentation at our August convention. And I know he's always sharing tips and tricks on their social media. I always tell people you want to get to him. We are very fortunate to have him at the state level. I know you guys probably don't know this, but we are only one of 3 states across the country that has their own chief economist at the state level. So we are very, very fortunate to have him. He does amazing presentations at our conventions every single year. And it's like the top topic of every room is always filled with him when he talks. So if you've never heard him talk, I always recommend come to midwinter meetings in January and come to convention here in August. It's about to happen. You do not want to miss his presentation. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop my share, and then I'm going to go into some different websites that you guys can use to pull statistics. So give me 1 second. Let me pull up what I need. Okay. So let me see here. Share. Okay. So one of the resources that I always use is I use floridarealtors.org. So that is one of my main sources for pulling statistics up. So I'm going to give you guys a breakdown of how to do this easily for you guys. So you have a login. I always tell people I'm very fortunate to have an Apple computer. So everything is saved, all my passwords. I know that's so bad for security purposes, but my logins are always saved. So whenever you go to floridarealtors.org as one of your resources for statistics, you're going to have to log in. So I log in all the time. I do it. And then I click it, do the drop down and hit login. Okay. And then what I always go to is you are going to go to tools and research. There's 2 different things that I use here. We have SunStats and we also have market statistics, the PDF reports. So one of my favorite things to do is the market statistics PDF reports. I usually use this in listing presentations, which is fantastic. And it's reports that are available to you guys as members that are paid through your membership. So There's a couple of ones that I love to look at. So we have the breakdown of the statewide reports. You also have to remember when you're looking at these reports, they're about 30 days out from being behind. So I literally was on this website this morning doing a listing presentation, and it- May's statistics are not out yet. They're probably getting close to it, but they are not out yet. April is fully available. So you got to remember our months run, and you got to give them some grace period to pull the statistics and do these reports. So it's about 15 to 25-day window before the previous month's report's going to be out. And that is something that's not easy and fast to do, because like sometimes with us in our MLS, you can have up to 5 days, business days to put a closing in the MLS before it cannot be recorded anymore. So I don't know how Miami works, but that always gives us a grace period. So if somebody doesn't do that till the 5 business days into the month, you could be almost at the seventh or eighth. So waiting for the statistics to pull is a grace period, and it always needs to happen. So a couple of them that I usually use is I usually use the Metropolitan Statistical Area Report, which will cover the generalization area. So if I were to drop down here and pull April's, we're going to do 2025. They give you three options. They have single family residences, condos, and townhomes, and manufactured. So that's going to give you the breakdown. They do not do a luxury kind of area or vacant land or commercial. So this is mainly focused on residential, is what this is mainly focused on. So whenever I do things, I usually pull up the single family and I usually do detailed. And with me, I'm going to pull this up for you guys right now. So I cover the Orlando area. So it breaks it down into Orlando, Kissimmee, and Sanford. And then if you pull it up, it gives you a breakdown into 4 different counties for me. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach, is what I'm going to do. And when you hit view, it's going to automatically download the PDF version right there on your computer. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Let's do this. And let's see. Here we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pull up the report for you guys. Or if it did already, I'm going to pull this up and share this with you guys. So this is going to give you kind of the generalization. So when I do this, I start with the generalization area and then I go into more details. So with you guys down there, it is covering Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County. So it's going to give you a little bit more of an overall picture of what's kind of going on with the single family residences. And so just a little bit idea right now is in April, you guys had over 3,332 closed sales. And then it gives you a breakdown of how many of them paid in cash. Um, Median days to contract was 39 days. Median times to sales was 80 days. It left you guys with new pending sales of 3,474. And then it left you guys with an inventory of 17,719. One thing I like about these reports is it breaks you down the previous year. So you have something to compare it to your consumers or customers at the end of the day when they're going to be like, well, in 2021 or 2022, this happened. And I think it happened in 2024. And we can be like, hey, it really didn't happen. So here's your stats. And I'm going to also say this to you guys is this is popping up everywhere. So you can kind of see that it left you guys with a 5 point months worth of inventory. That's a lot of inventory. So that whenever I pull stats up for single family residences, manufactured or condos and townhomes, if right now, if it's telling me I have almost 5.9 months of inventory, that's in my opinion telling me that sometimes I may need to get a longer listing agreement. Typically we do 6 months where we are. If we're at 5.9 months of inventory, you're definitely going to be pushing the limit of your 6 month listing agreement. So I always tell people right now, you want to look at that month supply of inventory because in my opinion, that should be telling you you should take a listings a little bit longer if that is leaving you with that much inventory right now. One thing about this is it gives you the generalization and then it goes into breakdowns of how the market's been. You can kind of see where the peak is in 2021. It gives you the infographic here of the 2022, 2023, and 2024, breaking it down by month, which is fantastic. If you guys kind of go on to the next couple of pages, it's going to give you more breakdowns of how many cash sales happen, cash sales as a percentage of closing. It gives you the median sales price. And this is covering 3 different counties. And we're going to go back into the breakdown of a little bit more of a local area. So I'm going to pull that up and how to show you guys how to do that too. But I love these reports because I always include them in my listing presentation. And it's like basically done for you. I always tell people, like, they're like, how did you get this stuff? And where did you get this? And I'm like, it's available for you guys. And I always tell people something that makes it look pretty already, why reinvent the wheel? Like if I had to do this on my own, this would take days to do. And I always tell people this is available right there, ready to go for you guys, which makes it super duper easy. And it gives you more breakdowns of what's going on in little areas. And it goes into new pending sales, and then it goes into new listings. And it gives you guys some ideas of what's going on with the market covering those 3 counties. So what I usually do is I'm going to go stop the share and I'm going to go back to the main page of floridarealtors.org. So I'm going to go back here and go into, oh, that's Adobe. Here we go. I'm going to share this one. So we're going to go back into, well, hopefully I shared it right. Kevin, can you, yeah, you got it. So basically what other thing I like to do is this can break it down into quarters too by the metropolitan areas, which is fantastic if you want an overall view for the quarter. And I know quarter 2 is not out yet. Quarter 1's available. So if you want it more of an overall picture for the quarter, you can do it too. Another one of my favorite ones to do is do the county reports. So this is going to focus on a county specifically that you're looking at. So if we were to do, we can just do April 2025, we'll do single family residences again. And we're just going to choose Miami-Dade County, if that's okay with you guys. And I hit view, and it's going to download the PDF version for you. And I may have to share the screen again. So give me 1 second. Stop share. And then what I'm going to do is share this right now. And I'm going to go in here. And it has the full report just covering Dade County. So let me zoom in on this here. I'm going to zoom in on this, you guys. So this is just covering Miami-Dade County. It'll break it down for all counties across the whole entire state of Florida, which is fantastic. And so this is covering you guys of the whole month of April of what single family residences did in April. So you can kind of see you guys have a lot of inventory in Miami-Dade County right now. You almost have 6.3 months of inventory, which is a lot of inventory. And I kind of like it because it breaks it down by the county again. And it kind of gives you an overall impression of what's kind of going on with the county compared to the overall metropolitan area. This is just going to semi-focus on the numbers compared to the generalization. So if I cover Orange County, Lake County, Sumter County, and Marion County up here, I like to do the generalization of what's going on with the area, and then I bring it in, is what I tell people all the time. You want to bring it in so people can focus on what they're particularly looking at. And then it gives you the same stats that they do in the other report. It's nice because this is 10 pages. And then what I usually will go back and do is I will go back into the floridarealtors.org. You do that, stop share, and then I'm going to go back to the main website, you guys. And then what I love is this one, the next one I'm going to pull is it'll give you your statistics by the zip codes, which I love. So what I usually do is I will focus on, this is going to give you a breakdown by individual city. So if you were to do Q1 2025 single family residences and you were to go into Miami-Dade County and you hit view, and it's going to download the report for me. Let me open it in PDF version. Stop share. I'm going to do share here. Is it breaks it down by city for you guys, and then there's one that's broken down by zip code. So it'll tell you how many closed sales incurred in each city as it was labeled. And you can kind of see the flux in different areas. Like you got Hialeah Gardens, you're going to have a flux, or a Hialeah, you're going to have a flux. But I love to look at this because it'll give you more of a breakdown. Like if Miami Beach is your go-to place to sell, it'll break it down for you of how many closed sales actually happened in Miami Beach. And then it gives you the generalization of past year to date changes. So basically how it was compared to last year. And you can kind of see you got some negatives going down here and you got some positives, which are good. But I always tell people when you got the positives, that's maybe areas that you should be focused on of over easy turnover rate for homes. And you can see how many were paid in cash. So for this Miami Shores one, you had 44 closed sales, 26 of them were paid in cash. And then the median sales price for that little area was that price. And so it shows you how the pluses and minuses are for the statistics for that area. So I always tell people, I always look at this to see what's selling and not selling. And I always tell people that you want to maybe look at areas that have better turnover rates too. Because if you can see some statistics where they're massively down for compared to last year, maybe there's some areas that you can improve on and focus on listings. So another thing that I love to use from Florida Realtors is I love to use Sunstats. So I'm going to go into here. I always tell people, I always tell people play around with this market reports because there's so much info on here. You literally can do it by year, you can do it by quarter, and you can do it by month. And like I said to you guys too, they can do single family residences, condos, townhomes, and manufactured homes. So it gives you kind of an idea. The single family residences are going to produce the green reports. The manufactured ones are going to be orange, and the condos and townhomes are going to be blue reports. So I always tell people if you're looking at a report and you're like, I don't think it's the right color, it's going to stay the same color consecutively when you pull up different reports from the website, which makes it fantastic. So you know what you're doing and everything's kind of color coded too. But I love fooling around with this because it gives you guys so much opportunities and these reports are so easy, accessible, and they're right there at your fingertips. One other thing that I love to use from Florida Realtors is I love to use Sunstats. So Sunsets is available to us as members, and you're going to go under the same drop down under tools and research, and you're going to hit Sunstats. And you're going to make it interactive. And then what you do is you want to click here to launch Sunstats, and it may require me to log back in, but we're just going to go with it. So when people ask me, hey, Carol, why does it pull up the zip code right away? So my zip code is 32778. So where it based off that zip code is whatever your profile is registered with Florida Realtors, what your mailing address is with them. So that's why this pulls up 32778 because my mailing address is a 32778 zip code. So it makes it easy. A lot of people also ask, how do you guys get your picture on this? And I'm going to show you where that is. You must have your profile picture uploaded into Florida Realtors. So you want to make sure your profile picture is uploaded, and that's how this is going to get onto Sunstats too. So some things that make this super duper easy. It'll break you down right now into how many closed sales happen in the 327780 area code. It gives you a breakdown of the median sales price right away, what the average sales price is, and the dollar volumes. And it gives you more of a breakdown of new listings, pending inventory, and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this is great to look at, but how do I make this pretty? Or how do I make this report accessible to areas that I want to focus on? So I'm going to tell you two things. It makes it super duper easy. You just hit change, and literally I can type in a different zip code in 2 seconds and it'll give me the same statistics. So I'm in Mount Dora right now. And if I hit Mount Dora, and you can do either all property types, single family residences, townhomes and condos, or manufactured homes. And if I hit apply, it's going to update everything right there for you based on the zip code. And then you're like, hey, this still looks the same. How can I make this look pretty? Or how can I market this? Or what can I do with this? If you go back up to the top here and hit infographic creator, it makes it look pretty. I tell people all the time. And they're like, okay, well, what do you do with this? I literally can share this on Facebook. I can share this on Twitter. I can share this on LinkedIn. I can email this to somebody or I can download it. So one thing I always do is I do postcards. people always tell me, well, how do you make postcards work for you or mailers work for you? Two things I always tell people: you always have to be consecutive with postcards. So for me, I always aim for certain neighborhoods, and I have to do those neighborhoods on a quarterly basis. When you do mailers or postcards, if you give up on the first try, you're not going to market that community properly. So I always tell people it takes time and it takes effort, and you have to be consecutive with it. So when I just went to a listing presentation recently that I just sold the listing, I showed up and the sellers actually had every single postcard that I mailed to that subdivision for the past 4 years. And I always tell people you have to be consecutive. It's doing it once per quarter. You want to touch them, it may not pay off. But I tell people being consecutively will pay off. You just got to do it efficiently and effectively. So one thing that I always use is I always use sunstats on the back of the postcard. So I do a feature on the front of the postcard about the community, and I do the back of the postcard focusing on the zip code of where they live at. So this makes it easy where you can actually download it and make it pretty on a postcard if you were to do this as a PDF version. And literally you can print it at your fingertips right there. And it's nice infographic because it's color captioning, and like we talked about, that you have to have your profile picture uploaded to Florida Realtors for your profile, and that's where you're going to pull your picture from. But this makes it super duper easy. And then you can kind of fool around with this too. You've got the chart builder. So basically, you can download this and it gives you an Excel sheet, or if you can download it and make it brand focused on you guys too. So if I were to download it with the brand focused, and I have to go probably back in here, let's see, it's going to make it a JPEG. So let me do that. Why isn't, hold on one second, you guys. It's just, I literally redid my computer, restarted my computer before I started this, and everything is messing up today. So I am like, oh, let's see here. So I don't know why it's not doing it. But what it basically does is it downloads this chart for you, and you can print this for listing presentations or give it to buyers. And then if you go down here, it's going to download this one too, and how much closed sales, and how you can see how much it's been down from year to date. So in April of 2025, we only had 26 closings in the 32778 zip code, and it changed year to date was down 48%. So you can kind of see I'm in a different market right now compared to a couple of years ago, and we're having this bad flux of stuff just taking a while. So these are different things you can play around with on Sunstats. And I like to do it because you can do different ranges, you can apply different things. I always tell people just fool around with it. If you're looking for tiers, this is going to give you more of a breakdown of your price tiers. And so basically, like, I know if I hit over 1 million, we're not going to really have that much because our median sales price is around 350 where I live at for single family residences. So I tell people to always kind of play around with this. This is something very easy, but like even just doing the basic infographic creator right there at your fingertips makes it super duper easy. And you can really give a breakdown area of different areas. And then they do the MSA, which is it's basically what it is. It does the metropolitan areas. So for example, if I were going to go to, I know it's right here, Miami, which they have focus on here. And if I hit apply, you're going to see the exact same infographic, but basically giving you a better idea of what's going over on those 3 counties too. So you can kind of fool around with this. I always like to be a little bit more specific when I'm focused on in certain communities or zip codes, where you can basically type in the zip code area. Or if you wanted to really do a generalization on, you can do that too. But I always tell people when you're doing postcards or kind of focusing on a specific area, you really want to get into the zip code areas compared to the metropolitan. I love to do the metropolitan areas for the PDF version, basically as an overall generalization, and then I go into more of a breakdown when I do listing presentations too. Do you have any questions, Kevin, yet, or everybody kind of just absorbing everything for sure?
No, you're doing amazing. We love it. Keep going.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So, and then I always tell people fool around with this stuff. Just make sure you have your login for Florida Realtors, which makes it super duper convenient. And I know if Kevin, I always tell people too, if you guys have any questions or going, hey, how do I access again? Kevin has my phone number. You can always follow me on social media and you can always say, hey, Kevin, do you have Kara's phone number? And he'll be like, hey, here it is. You can call me anytime. I do exactly what you guys do every single day. I'm a realtor. So I always tell people just give me a text message or phone call. I do this all the time. So everything's super duper easy. And if you guys have questions and going, hey, how can I break this down a little bit more? Or I'm stuck on how to fix this, please don't hesitate to reach out. A couple of other things that I love to use are, we're going to go back in here. So here, let me pull up. So let me go back up to the NAR level. So another website I love to use is I love to use the National Association of Realtors. So we have another benefit of using them. They do statistics too. With them, you do have to sign in too. So you have to have your sign in info ready to go. So how do you guys get to there, or how do I get some info, or what's the highlights of using them? So they do exactly what we do at the state level, but it's going to be more of an overall picture. So if I go in, it's going to probably make me log in, and there it is, NAR Next. Sometimes it makes you log in, sometimes it doesn't, depending on what you're going to click for. So they're going to do more of an expanding area. They're going to give you metropolitan. They're going to give you what's going on at the national level compared to when we focus on Florida Realtors, we really focus on a Pacific area and a Pacific zip code or metropolitan areas that just apply to the state for sure. So I always tell people you can fool around with this. There's different ways you can do this. They break it down by appraisal, commercial real estate market, home buyers and sellers. You got even land thrown in here. You got international. You got real estate market data. So I kind of focus on different real estate market data is what I really, really focus on. And they have tons of articles on here, but there's a couple of things that I love to look at. So if you kind of go down here and you're going to go back to our local market reports is one of my favorite things to look at. And it kind of can give you a housing update of what's kind of going on with local job markets too. Because if people are moving to your area specifically for work, it's going to pull it up. And it gives you labor statistics, which I love to look at too, because if people are moving, they're going to move. So if you go under Florida, it'll give you general areas, and it's just a PDF version, but this is something to even just kind of look at and give you some reports to pull up basically for listing presentations, or if some people are moving to your area. I always tell people it makes it effectively to help with where you're coming from and what's going on with the generalization of the area. So you got to remember, I always tell people Florida Realtors is at our state level. NAR, or National Association of Realtors, is at the national level. So it's going to give you an overall generalization picture. Um, there's always ways to play around with this. They do a ton of reports. And I always tell people when you kind of get the area of where you're looking at for stuff, it kind of makes it fun just to kind of poke around for it too. We're going to cover this in a couple minutes here, so ignore the side of the screen. But you literally can scroll down. They have tons of PDF versions for stuff. It gives you generalizations, snapshots. It has an infographic. If we were to go under pending home sale snapshot, they're still back in April too, because remember, we got to give some time and grace period to do that. And this is going to give you a generalization of more of the areas that are covering. So you can kind of see that we're down a little bit in the south here. You can kind of see every place is kind of down across the country, but we're really having a effect of the market basically. And this is kind of like what's going on with the market. I always tell people too, it's like I hate those phone calls right now of going, hey, why is the listing sitting? And I'm like, where have you been for the past couple of months? I always tell people, I'm like, you got to go back to the stats. The stats hold the money, basically, of what's kind of going on with the market. So there's so much different areas that you can do. I love that our state association provides stats for us, because if we didn't, we would be having to go to National Association of Realtors and do the generalization, which is fantastic. too, but at the same exact time, we're very fortunate to have that. One other benefit that I love about National Association of Realtors is their whole entire research department has their own Instagram account. So, one thing that I love to do is, let me pull it up here, is if you go on to your Instagram account and hit, I'm going to share the screen right now. I'm on my Instagram account. You guys can see it right. Ooh, yep. Kevin, you can see Instagram, correct? On your side, or am I still on? Or am I not? Yep. Okay. He gave me the thumbs up. So this is my Instagram account. Um, so what I usually do is when you go in here, you're going to type in, and you can go on to NAR's website too. If you type in NAR research, oh my God, there it is. Pull it up right away. So if you pull up NAR research, on open. Okay. They have their own Instagram account fully dedicated to NAR research and is providing real estate data to you guys as members. So you can kind of see that a lot of people they post multiple times during the week. I always tell people this is great info. If you want to say to me, hey, Thursdays is the day that I focus on social media, because we should be focusing on social media, is Thursdays are my days that I want to focus on giving stats out to my social media. So this is great info that you guys can share automatically where you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it's something right there for you guys for free. It can kind of give you breakdowns of, hey, what's going on? And then you got a reaction, you've got different reports that are being shared. And then either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, NAR Research does produce a story. And that story gets shared so many times. It may be Jennifer's or Jessica's report for the week. And I always tell people it's so easy to share on social media. I literally follow a lot of people across the country because I know Kevin and I volunteer a lot and we get to see a lot of different realtors from across the country. And so whenever I'm on social media, I'm always following those other leaders across the country. And that NAR research story gets shared so much. I'm like, oh my God, the thing is shared so much. I'm like, every time I see somebody else's story, it's like shared automatically. And it's something that's just accessible for you guys to be like, hey, this is what's going on in the housing market. It makes you look like the pro. And I always tell people stats always make you look smarter than you are sometimes is what I tell people too, because it's something that's right there for you guys that you can usually use accessible. Like I'm not an economist. I've never studied economy. I've never studied whatever, micro, macro, not me. But this makes it such a breakdown for you guys that it's accessible for you guys as members and it's accessible for consumers to be given to you by you guys. So it makes it easier and it makes it accessible. Um, I'm hoping I give you guys some tips and tricks that you guys can use that makes it easy and can make it available for you guys to do just at your local association level. I know Kevin, you guys have your own economist. I know she is amazing. I've heard of her. I've never seen her talk yet, but I know she's amazing. And I know you guys have a ton of reports. I know if you guys were like, hey, Kevin, how do I access that stuff? I know Kevin would be like, hey, you just do this, X, Y, and Z. But I was like kind of focusing today on the national level and what's available at the state level. Kevin, do we have any questions? Mm-mm. Is there anybody that has a question that they would like answered or kind of thrown out there, or um, what you guys would like to know about more, or anything that I could help you guys with?
I think you were thorough. That was impressive.
That was impressive, Kevin, for sure. Is there anything else you would like to see from me, you guys? If you want me to, Kevin, I can put my email address and my cell phone number in the group chat.
You could actually put your email address. Let's talk about if you have upon like how you would use these statistics listing presentation. You did mailers, so let's not talk about mailers too much. But just like all like unique applicants that you do with these statistics that you think more realtors should
Yes.
do as well.
Okay.
That makes
So
sense.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen if that's okay with you, Kevin, because I know
Yeah,
we're
absolutely, absolutely.
so I usually use the PDF versions at the state level that we focus on first. I always give them to buyers when we're making offers. So I will produce those reports for buyers when we're looking at houses, to kind of give them a generalization of what's kind of going on. The next thing I kind of focus on is I go into my MLS. And I focus on, for example, if they really love Stony Brook, which is a community right here in Mount Dora, I will pull the stats up specifically for that community. I do everything active pending within and sold within the past 60 days. So before any buyer makes an offer with me, I will pull the stats at the county level. And then I will also pull my MLS data of what's active, pending, and sold within the past 6 months, or not 6 months. I do the past 60 days. When I do a listing presentation, I do the past 6 months because our market inventory is taking a while, as we saw on those PDF reports. So if you are having producing 5.8 months on those PDF reports of inventory, you want to base that back info for listing presentations based on what that report says. So if I was listing a home in Stony Brook, I would pull back the 6 months. Okay. I got your, if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to go back and somebody just dropped in the chat. Can you show how to get the days on market, please? So I can definitely do that for sure. So are you more referring to your MLS, or are you more referring to the PDF reports that we went over first?
Yeah, the MLS would be great.
Okay. Okay. If it's okay with you, Kevin, can I share my MLS? I think it's very, very similar to yours. So, because you guys use Matrix too, correct? Yes. Okay. He's giving me the thumbs up. So I'm going to go into my MLS. So Matrix is basically the breakdown of how the reports were kind of done. And I know it's very similar. So I cover the Orlando, Central Florida area, and our MLS covers all the way from Tampa to Daytona Beach area, or New Smyrna Beach, or the whole central area. But basically, Matrix is the same platform that it's on. So I know you guys have that too, and it's very similar. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a breakdown of us. So I'm going to log into my MLS. I'm going to walk you through what I do. And it's going to kind of, I know this is very similar. It does a stellar, we've got products and services, and I know you guys have that too. I know I don't service Miami, but I know it's very similar. And if I go into my Matrix, which is my MLS, Stellar is my MLS, I don't have a login for Miami. But what I usually do is I go under the search tab. Okay, it's going to give me, hey, you should register for this class. That's what it's going to give me. So hold on one second. Let me log out of this. So if I go under residential search, which is very similar to you guys, I know this does not look exactly like yours, but it's very, very similar. What I usually do is I do, if for example, if we were going after Sullivan Ranch, which is a community in Mount Dora, I usually will do active pending. The pending automatically does 0 to 180 days for me. And then if I were to do sold and I was going after statistics that were pulling up, basically telling me that stuff was selling in 6 months or 8 months, I'm going to adjust that time frame on mine. So, for example, if I wanted to know everything that's sold because it's taking 8 months of worth of inventory, I'm going to increase those days on market. So let's, for example, just put it in 0 to 250 for me. And then what I usually do is I will type in the city, and I know it's very similar on your guys' end of where it's located at. And then I know the legal subdivision name is Sullivan Ranch. I always tell people whenever you type in a legal subdivision in the MLS, you always want to put the city in it, because our MLS is huge. And your guys' MLS is huge. You want to make sure you pull the Pacific area too with the city in it, because you may have 4 different Sullivan ranches across the whole entire 3 counties that you guys cover, or 2 counties that you cover. And when I hit results, it'll literally pull up everything active, pending, and sold within that community right now of what's going on. So our actives, pending, and sold are right here, and that's been the past 250 days. So it kind of shows you that things are selling, but at the same exact time, you can kind of tell too, there's no pendings right now, which is not a good sign either. So it's taking a little bit of time for inventory to turn it over. When I tell people, my other little tidbit for you guys is this. For example, if I am mailing postcards to this subdivision of Sullivan Ranch and I mail out the postcards, they go out on a Monday. I always tell people go in your MLS before you send those postcards out or after you send the postcards out. Print a sheet that basically covers everything active, pending, and sold within that community. Even though you may have only sold 1 or 2 homes in that community, or maybe you sold 80 homes in that community or 0 homes in that community, I always tell people when you want to act like the pro or the person that owns that community, I always tell people print this off. So if somebody calls you and says, hey, I know my neighbor down the street just sold their house and I think they sold it for $685,000 and they really only sold it for 625. I always tell people have that information ready to go for you guys because you want to act like the pro when somebody calls you or somebody texts you. You don't want to go, hey, I need to go look at this or hey, I need to double check this. Whenever I get phone calls, the phone calls are always when I'm in my car in the middle of 20 things for the day and it makes it crazy. So I always have this always ready to go for myself to look like the pro too. I think hopefully um I'm hopefully going to say your right name. I'm going to hopefully say this correctly. Jeannie, did this kind of give you some ideas of what I was talking about days on market and kind of pulling some ideas for sure? Or did you want a little bit more specific?
I think I wanted to see like a trend, like how would I see a trend? Say from January to now, like, because if I want to say, well, homes are sitting
Yeah.
longer, I don't know, 60
So,
days, whatever it is. How do I see that?
so with me, our MLS, which I know is very similar with you guys, if I
Yes, it's
go
exactly the same. It looks,
okay, perfect. Thank you
yeah.
for giving me that clarification. Great, fantastic. So, when I do this, I go into print and they give you a quick CMA with no icons. And if I go to print to PDF, it generates a PDF automatically for me. And the PDF will break down typically um, it tells you the ADOM and CDOM. So ADOM on our end is active days on the market and CDOM is continuous days on the market. The only reason why the CDOM may be higher than the ADOM, for example, if they change realtors in the middle of their listing agreement and says, hey, I want to go with Kara Wisely, and then I change to Kevin Percelli, basically it'll change the CDOM will be higher compared to the ADOM. So this report will give you the breakdown right there for the community. So you can kind of tell people, hey, this is what's going on. Another thing that I like to do is I like to go over this specifically with sellers when I'm listing homes because for example, if they tell us like it only took 5 days for the neighbor's house and you can kind of see the minimum value of days on market was only 20 days. So, and you can see the highest one was 235 days. And these reports will break it down. And one other thing that I like to use is in these reports too, is I always go back and it's great that it gives you a quick CMA, but I always am a firm believer too in printing out the customer synopsis if I'm going for a listing presentation to show the house, to show the quality of what the work was too. So for example, if I'm going to a listing presentation and the house was built in 2004 and has not been updated compared to another comparable in that community, I'm a firm believer if you're going to do a CMA in your MLS, I always recommend people print out the customer synopsis and I always print out the pictures too of what the interior of the house looks like or the exterior of the house looks like. So it always will say, hey, if the kitchen's updated or there's a pool in the backyard, you want to know those specifics. Like if the AC, the roof was updated, that's going to affect the value of the house too. So I always kind of use those. Another thing that I I usually use for my listing presentations is I do a generalization of a neighborhood. So if I was going after Sullivan Ranch, I always do the multi map, which will break down where all the active pendings and sold are within that community. It does a map of it for me. I do the customer single line, which will break down um, every house that's on that multi map into a single line. Okay. And then I usually do the agent single line, which will break it down and tell me specifics of how it sold or what it sold for or um how they paid for it basically. So it'll break it down of how they paid for it, and it gives you more of a generalization compared to um, it gives you more of a breakdown of how many bedrooms bath it had compared to the customer synopsis, and it goes more into the breakdown of the CDUM and the ADUM. And then what I usually do after that is I usually print out the customer synopsis where it matches the multi-map. So if they're looking on that multi-map and they're looking at the customer single line, the number one will match number one on the print customer synopsis. And then what I do is I do the quick CMA with no icons. So I break my listing presentations into 5 different sections, is what I tell people too. The first section I usually use for listing presentations is I cover everything about the house. So I go over, hey, for example, a listing presentation I'm going to today at 5 o'clock. I was printing at the office this morning, and I go into the county of where the house is located. I print out the public record card. I print out the warranty deed. I print out the taxes. I always double check all this stuff before I list a home because you want to make sure you're talking to the right people. You want to make sure you're signing that listing agreement with the right people. I always tell people pull the warranty deed because I always tell people listing agreements and listing presentations. I always tell people check with your broker too, but you want to make sure they're signing correctly of what matches the warranty deed and you're talking to the people that actually can sign on their behalf. And so I usually kind of do that. And then in that same little area, I do statistics of what's going on at the state level or at the local level from all those reports that we pulled off of FloridaRealtors.org. My second little area is I kind of focus on the what's going on in the community is what I call it. So I kind of go back into the MLS and print all this stuff. I do the multi-map. I do this customer single line. I do the agent single line. I do the um, print the customer synopsis, and then I do the quick CMA. And then my third area I do for a listing presentation is I always focus on the brand that I work for, the brokerage that I work for, and what we can provide, and who I am too is what I focus on. And then the fourth area, I do a legit CMA in my MLS is what I use. And then whatever I use for my CMA is I print the customer synopsis and I also print the pictures again too. And then I make that part of my CMA or competitive market analysis is what a CMA is on that specific home. And I usually base that on 2 things. I pull the public record card, and then I also, whenever something sells and I've got a listing presentation going in, I usually will do my little dirt digging too. And as I will go in the MLS and pull the last time that house sold, if I can see that the warranty deed was recorded in 2021 or 2010, our MLS only goes back to 2006. So I can pull that stuff very easily and I can look at pictures of the last time it sold. And then I usually will do the 5th section. So I usually put my 5th section of, I usually pair up with a title company or attorney. And I do, in our county, the sellers dictate who the title company is or the closing agent's going to be. So I usually have a list of about 4 different vendors to use to recommend to people for title companies or attorneys. And then I usually pair up with somebody and I will do at the listing presentation, I will provide net sheets. So I usually turn to my title company or attorney that I usually use, and I usually will have the net sheets in my listing presentation is what I do. So I've got 5 sections. I always tell people, I know there's a little bit more than stats, but I always tell people when you're doing a listing presentation, um, you should know what you're looking at. You should know what you're presenting. I've had the same listing presentation since I've done this. I've made edits along the way, but I know my listing presentation by heart. So anytime if I'm walking into a listing presentation at Stefano Court, which is in Loch Levin, compared to where I'm going today, which is in Sullivan Shores. I know exactly what I'm talking about for some of the areas, but the only thing that's going to kind of change a little bit is the community of where it's focused at too. I know it was a little bit more about listing presentations than about
That was
stats. But
fabulous. That was excellent. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Perfect. Well, thanks again, you guys. Is there anything else that you guys kind of? I'm just looking over the chat really fast. I don't know that question. I wish I could tell you that it has customer synopsises, but I believe it should have something very, very similar to that, because the customer synopsis, I'm just looking in the chat, Kevin, customer synopsis is not going to have the brokerage that the house is listed with. It's just going to cover everything. And our broker synopsises cover who the listing agent or brokerage is too. So you guys should definitely have something similar in your MLS to that for sure. An RMLS, if you kind of, I know it's still open, you guys, there's tons more of reports that you can print out. And I always tell people, fool around with this. If you're looking for something very, very specific, it's usually available there. You just got to play around with it too. Is there anything else in the chat? I don't want to miss anybody. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time. I want to say thank you so much to Kevin, and thank you so much to YPN again for letting me come in and do this again. I know we did this last year and it turned into a mega success. And I know a lot of people will reach out. And if you guys have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. I did put my email and my cell phone number in the oh my God, if I can talk right now, in the message. And basically, if you guys ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I know Kevin has my direct line too, so you can always give me a call. And if you guys need anything, or if you guys want me to send Kevin a cheat sheet of basically where to get some of this info, I have no problem doing that too. And I just wanted to say thank you so much again to Miami Association of Realtors for letting me do this today too, for sure. Kevin, you need anything else from me for sure? Or does anybody else have any other questions?
No, this was fascinating. Thank you for everything. And look forward to having it in about another 6 months or so for another.
Thanks, Kevin, for sure. You making me sign up now. So like if you guys miss anything or want more insights or want something, you heard it from Kevin directly that I'll be coming back in another 6 months. So
right. Yeah. And for everybody who came in late, if you need a referral partner in Orlando, Dora, or the Villages, Kara's got you covered. And if you're really nice and you get a referral, I believe you were on her list of baked goods that she hands out every year, which is worth it for the referral itself. So just throwing that out there. But thank you everybody who tuned today. We have another class next week. It is realtor revenue streams, and it's in a downturn. So with the market slowing down, this was going to be an important class to hope for you guys. We hope your revenue is selling and buying homes with your clients, but there's other ways to make money, and we'll explore those coming up next Wednesday at 1. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm gonna be on my laptop.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I have a full purse.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm eating before I leave.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm sneaking out for shopping.
We're YPN leaders.
Of course we're going to be creating content.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm signing up for classes.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm Cafecito obsessed.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm gonna crash the next happy hour.
Yeah,